Well, hello again, Cancer. It's December 2016. Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au with the final month of the year in focus. A brief synopsis of, I guess, what's been happening most recently. But being the last month of the year, usually people do a pretty big review, want to have a look at where they've been, where they're going, and so it might be interesting to note that the first and foremost astrological event, which happened just at the tail end of November, was the new moon occurring in your sixth house of work, health, debts, and enemies. This moon, which is a new moon, is very near to Saturn right now, so there can be a rather heavy tone surrounding the work practices that you're going through now. Also, the people you're working with. As well, you've got Mercury there and the Sun being part of the new moon phenomena. So we see that this can give a fair degree of weight to these aspects of your life. I mean, how are you getting on with people around you? How are you managing your debts? How are you feeling health-wise? If you're like most people, towards the end of the year, you'll be feeling pretty tired. But for you, because this is very much a health component, you need to really review this part of your life and the way you've been handling your diet, your work practices, your sleep patterns, that type of thing. Dietary considerations will also be a very big part of this review and what you're going to be doing moving into 2017. Now, if we take a look also on the 1st of December, that hard aspect, what we call the right angle or square from the Sun to Neptune, again from that same sixth house, is not particularly good. And Neptune's transiting your house of karma, the ninth house. So there may be some karmic implications here. And Neptune, interestingly, is very much in conjunction with the South Node, which has to do with past karma. So sometimes what I've found in my experience is that the health problems you're experiencing may not even be that easily identifiable. They can be throwbacks to things you may have done in the past. Sometimes, for example, sports people, footballers who've led a very illustrious career, have an injury, and then years later it comes back to haunt them as an arthritic complaint in the knee or something like that. But this can even extend way back into past lives if you believe that sort of stuff. And there are some very specific rules for seeing what those karmic problems may be. In your case, we can see that there may be problems there, especially because your sixth house is related to Sagittarius, which is the hips and the thighs. I've often seen people having health problems in that area relate to, for example, sciatica. Twisted sort of spine at the base of the spine, the pelvic area, those sorts of things, and that can actually have a flow-on effect to other health things such as your digestion. So it's important to take a look at that. If you've had injuries in the past, don't turn a blind eye to that, and that's the way you can start to improve that part of your life. So certainly a whole lifestyle change, at least a review of that, is likely while we have this new moon and these other planets transiting. Saturn has been transiting through this area for some time, as you know from my previous discussions with you. On the 3rd, Mercury moves to the 7th house, your marital sector. So for a month or so, you're going to have quite a bit of discussions going on in that area. A lot of focus there, at least intellectually, and in terms of your communication. Venus is there along with Pluto, so that's very intense. And the problem you have there as well, Cancer, is that on the 19th, Mercury goes into its retrograde motion. It's constantly moving forwards and backwards, and it's interesting to see in which specific house that takes place in. So it is the ruler of your 12th house and your 3rd house. 12th house is the house of loss, it's the house of compassion, it's also the 3rd house of communication. So it's definitely a house of communication, an opportunity for you to give of yourself selflessly. But with the retrogression, it shows that maybe you're going to get some way into that and then find that, bang, something's gone wrong there, and you have to probably review that again or go back over old ground to to resolve things with your partner. We see too that straight after that, on the 8th, Venus, which is the planet of love, which is very nicely placed in your marital sector, moves into your 8th house of sexuality and deeper emotional issues. So it moves away from that rather sociable connection to a more intellectual connection, trying to work things out, trying to reason things out, talk about things. And we see later in the month, it won't happen straight away. It may not even happen throughout the whole month of December, more likely January, because Pluto is there as well. And once Mercury comes in touch with that, some of those discussions can get rather intense. So you need to prepare yourself for that. The retrogression, I think, is going to do that and gives you the opportunity to clarify things into the new year. Mars moves to the sign of Pisces. That's a powerful position. It's your 9th house, again, that past karma house. It has to do with education, travels, the guru, mentors. So there's a lot more drive and energy, and being a very friendly planet to you, the period while Mars is in that area of your horoscope is going to be one which gives you a lot more drive and attack to work out things on a spiritual level, to expand your higher mind and to intellectually grasp new concepts and to travel. And that makes sense too. Again, that happens on the 19th, just before the retrogression of Mercury. So could it be that maybe some of your plans change? In some systems of astrology, that 7th house is also connected with changes in the domestic residence or travel as well. So maybe there's a tie in there, Cancer, with the journeying and the communication, miscommunication sometimes, under the retrogression of that planet. There are some nice aspects there when we see the Sun moving into the 7th house. Again, that's going to fortify the Mercury transit into the 7th house. It's the finance planet, so again, that's a flow on from what I just said about Mars in the 9th house. There could be some fairly serious discussions about money, how you're sharing your money. And Mars does move out of that 8th house of shared resources before it moves to that 9th house. Excellent aspects on the 25th, Christmas Day, between Saturn and Uranus, and also between Venus and Jupiter. These are lovely aspects, especially the Venus and Jupiter aspect. Jupiter there in your 4th house of family, and Venus moving into the 8th house. A 4-8 trine is very nice for unexpected gifts, legacies, something you might not expect at that time. Happening so close to Christmas, it's quite likely. Also, your own generosity is at a peak. Be careful there that you don't overspend. It's the thought that counts, as we always say. Then, we've got that conjunction of the Sun with the retrogressing Mercury on the 29th, just before Uranus goes to its stationary and direct position in your career sector. So the Sun's movement shows that enhancing of the communication, letters, meetings, and that's unusual for this time of the year, but it's still quite likely that you have some breakthrough, a late breakthrough, especially if you're working through the Christmas period. Uranus is that planet of unpredictability and sudden happenings, and that's happening in your professional sector. So an electric end to 2016 for you. Look, I just want to take an opportunity to thank all of you who've tuned in here and who've visited my site. I appreciate that. I look forward to your company again in the new year. Don't forget to join me at astrology.com.au for lots more information. And do have a safe, happy Christmas, prosperous new year. But I'll be back to tell you that again anyhow. Take care now. Bye-bye.